We are heading down again to Key West, and we'll overnight here in Key Largo. Behind me is Snapper's Bar. The last time we were here was before Hurricane Irma, when Anita and I included it in our video called 28 Florida Keys Bars in 6 Days. Irma obliterated Snappers with Cat 4 wind and waves on a Sunday morning in 2017. Among the last people to sit at the bar back then was somebody I know from my Chicago broadcasting days, Bill Weir, and his CNN camera crew, who took before pictures. The aftermath left him flabbergasted.
Owner of a bar called Snappers and a bunch of very festive Key West residents who were debating whether to evacuate or stay. Peter was at that time determined to stay, hole up inside his bar. He changed his mind, and good thing he did, because it's completely gone. Look at this. Gone. The entire bar. Right here. Where I sat and had shrimp tacos with my crew after the live shot and hung out with these amazingly warm, gracious people.
Here are pictures we took of Snappers before the calamity. Here's Snappers now. It was the waves that smashed Snappers. So you can see the rebuild lifted the Turtle Club off the ground and placed it on stilts 16 feet up, out of the reach of future storm surge. One can only hope. The Turtle Club is a Snappers institution with membership cards providing discounts to those who live in the Keys, those who live in Monroe County. I don't qualify for the club discount, but mainlanders like me can still drink at the Turtle Club bar, which used to feature comfy, cushy, padded fishing boat seats. Those were swept away in the storm. The new Turtle Club will officially inhabit the platform with a lofty view of Snappers and the ocean. On the day we visited, the nearly completed work was still, sadly, unfinished, and the stairs up to the bar were blocked. I called Snappers weeks later and learned that the upstairs bar will be open during limited hours in summer, and the hours will be extended during season. But Turtle Club or no Turtle Club, the locals like Snappers for lunch. Here's some views of the makeover in the main tiki. Shannon and Ariel were our friendly bartenders. Steve Vanini is the guy playing the guitar. Take the broken wings, learn to fly. For your life. Only waiting for this moment to rise. In the Keys, it can be said that the more things change, the more they stay the same. And along the way, we discover the total rebuild of Snappers is only one of several total renovations of iconic Keys bars we discovered heading down the overseas highway. And for those new to the Keys, remember, going down on the left side of the highway is the Atlantic Ocean, and on the right side is Florida Bay, and our next stop is on the bay side at marker 88, which is the name of the bar and also its location at mile marker 88. Marker 88 has been catering to locals since the year of my senior prom in 1967. But it underwent a total makeover during the COVID years, and not long ago was unveiled as a shiny new reincarnation. It's very nice and upscale in both style and cuisine. It has 2 tiki bars, a vast expanse of beach dining, 2 boat docks, and is big enough to host large events and still have space for the regular barflies. And speaking of us, it has 18 craft beers on tap. This is Billy Davidson, who plays a perfect set list with his back to the ocean. Lots of TVs for sports. Coco Gauff was playing at some tournament. She's from Delray Beach, near where we live, so it's always fun watching her. Our next stop is only 5 minutes away on the ocean side of the road. Hog Heaven Sports Bar and Grill was also hit hard by Irma, and we had popped in years ago, but wanted to see how the rebuild turned out. The facade is still the quirky, beat-up looking barn with a crashed airplane sticking out of the roof and bikers pulled up out front. But inside is a big upgrade, and the outside back deck bar is totally transformed. Its look is still divey, but that's intentional. It's contrived to be a dive. Out beyond the outdoor bar on a tiny harbor is a pathway to what is called Tiki Island, with its own tiki bar overlooking the Atlantic. The tiki bar here doesn't open till later, so we carry our beers from inside out here and enjoy our solitude. This is our personal Florida Keys bar. Population 2. Because of the shallows out here, there is a channel most boats have to follow before they hit deep water, and that channel pulls them all right past us. Dave, the bartender at the inside bar, told us Hog Heaven originated with a pet pig of the original owner, and that for a while barbecue went out of style, but that after the rehab, its daily smoked barbecue is now a huge draw. They have local craft beers, and their house beer, called Hog Heaven Lager, is brewed by Islamorada Brewing Company, which produces beers on tap all over South Florida. We visit bars in the daytime, but we heard repeatedly that Hog Heaven is party central for nightlife in these parts. Okay, back on the road. Papa Joe's is one of the newest bars in the Keys, and is also one of the oldest. The original was here as a little bar and kitchen at one of the Keys' oldest fish camps, Fowler's Fish Camp, starting in 1937. It was added onto over the years and was a popular place for fishermen and locals. It closed in 2011, and a bartender attributed that to damage from some hurricane. But whatever the cause, it was eventually torn down and has now been totally rebuilt from the ground up. And when I say up, I mean high up, on stilts beside boat docks. Cool inside bar and elegant with great views. But on a sunny day like today, we have to sit outside at the lofty tiki bar, looking out over Florida Bay. On the other side of the road, you can see the Atlantic Ocean. A nice thing to do at home when you need a fix is pull up the Papa Joe's live webcams. You'll be glad you did. By the way, check the website if this is a conflict for you, because right now it's closed on Wednesday. Our forward motion south is paused briefly when we noticed, pulling into Papa Joe's parking lot, that right across the road on the ocean side is Lazy Days, one of our favorites back on the 28 Florida Keys Bars in 6 Days trip. So we drive the 60 seconds it takes to pull into the Lazy Days lot. We revisit Lazy Days upstairs, which is cool on a hot afternoon. On the ground level is beach dining and a stage in the sand and a dock. And a beachside bar. But we like it upstairs, where Liliana is our attentive bartender. Last time we were here, I looked at the menu and asked the bartender if he liked the hogfish sandwich, and he shook his head and answered my question with his own, "What does it matter if I like it, because what if I like it and you don't?" So I got the Merino burger. But in the years since then, somebody must have observed that since Dan Marino's jersey had been retired for more than 2 decades, it was about time they retired his sandwich. No offense to Dan Marino, he remains beloved. This time, I had the hogfish sandwich Lazy Days style, and it was exceptional. But mind you, I've never had a bad hogfish sandwich. Time to turn in, so we return to Snappers as we are staying next door at Dove Creek Resort, a moderately priced hotel to overnight on the way to Key West. After sunrise and breakfast, we annoy some poultry on the way to the car and turn our trusty Subaru south. We pass Papa Joe's, the farthest bar we got to yesterday, and are bound for our first bar today, which is in Marathon. But on the way, it's impossible to miss the iconic Mermaid Road sign beckoning us into Lorelei's, a mandatory stop in Isla Mirada for anybody who's not been there. Here we are on a previous visit. Great beach bar on the bayside with great sunset views. We are not going to that bar right now, so it doesn't count in our bars total this trip. But I've got to stop just to show you the new sign. In German folklore, Lorelei is a beautiful golden-haired mermaid siren who lures sailors to their death on the rocks. And every so many years, the Florida sun and the heat and the wind and the rain causes Lorelei to look a bit weathered, as it does me, and an artist is called to apply new makeup. The artist always signs the tip of the tail, and I can't make out the signature on this photo we took in 2015. That paint job was dated 2012. Then, in 2020, the celebrated artist of marine life, Wyland, worked his magic on Lorelei. Her hair finally grew long enough to modestly cover her breasts, and she gets a Santa hat in December. And just before we traveled down this time, a local Isla Mirada artist named Jewel Jankowski dramatically transformed Lorelei into the alluring golden-haired siren that will now lure drivers into the parking lot for a bushwhacker at sunset. This postcard-worthy Lorelei is the perfect background for your "Here I am in the Florida Keys" selfie. Arriving in Marathon, we hit a couple of waterfront bars we missed in our 20 more Florida Keys bars trip. The newest is a resort beach bar, but we're not staying at this resort, Tranquility Bay Resort. It gets very high marks with travel sites, usually in the top 10 of Keys hotels. Most resorts let you drink at their tiki bars without being a guest. But it appeared gate access to the pool and the beach was key card activated. So we employed our usual ruse of posing as kindly old people who belong there and walked right through the reception area and the dining room to outside, where we found a true treasure of a tiki bar. TJ's Tiki Bar is planted in the sand with sweeping views of the Florida Bay coastline, waterfront with a capital W. In plain view, there are nifty floating toys for water sports and a big swimming area for resort guests. To the south is a great view of Faro Blanco Lighthouse, which is at the Faro Blanco Resort and Yacht Club. We visited there a while back. We find that here at TJ's, as is the case at most bars we visit in late morning, there is plenty of room in the hour or two after it opens, and we can monopolize the time of the bartenders asking questions and chatting amiably. A 5-minute drive south, past the local sea turtle hospital, worth a stop and a t-shirt if you have the time, we pull into Porky's Bayside, a local landmark and a favorite for barbecue smoked daily on premises. This is the marathon mecca of meat. In the Keys, one regularly comes across bars that claim celebrity sightings. Isla Mirada's Chica Lodge boasts of George Bush Sr. having fished out of there multiple times. Marker 88 claims baseball legend Ted Williams drank there. In Key West, Ernest Hemingway could not possibly have visited all the bars that claim he drank there, including a couple opened after he was dead. But famous people have certainly had fun in the Keys over a century, and Porky's history includes an appearance by Elizabeth Taylor. In the 1950s, the place was called Bill Thompson's Villas and Marina. Here's the marina part, out back. And in the 1950s, Bill Thompson's Villas put up travelers, including, says Porky's, Liz Taylor, Ernest Hemingway, of course, and Jimmy Hoffa. Hoffa was a frequent Keys visitor because his Teamsters controlled all the trucking along the single road connecting all the Keys, and he drew a prison term for funneling Teamsters' pension money into buying Key West property. And local legend has it that Jimmy Hoffa was killed at sea while on a fishing charter with mobsters out of this marina. But I digress. More importantly, Porky's claims that the invention of deep-fried key lime pie happened right here. Anyhow, it's the sort of place where friendly regulars will spot you snapping photos with your phone and offer to take a picture of the both of you together at the bar. We are heading to Geiger Key Fish Camp for lunch. But on Big Pine Key, in a split-second decision, I make a hard right off Highway 1 and take a detour out to No Name Pub, a place we mentioned in the last trip video, but where we haven't gone for more than 10 years. Key deer are miniature deer that live on Big Pine Key and can often be found along the route to No Name Pub. No Name is proud of its reputation as a hard bar to find. Back in the day, it was hard enough to find that it wasn't crowded. But now it's a celebrity bar in the Keys and was packed for lunch when we arrived. Pizzas are popular. We were shoehorned into the bar. Overflow customers found their way to the picnic tables in the big tiki out back. We just had one for the road. Geiger Key Fish Camp is 13 minutes out of Key West, but is the sort of place Key Westers drive to because of its food and old Florida ambiance. It's a bar and tables on the water in the mangroves. Paddleboarders, kayakers, passing manatees, and classic rock and island tunes. Geiger Key fans are apparently also really big fans of tea. We chatted about our bar hopping plans with our friendly and knowledgeable bartender, Anita, who said when we got to Stock Island, we have to stop at Bad Boy Taqueria and Tequila for the best Mexican around, especially the burritos, Anita stressed. So we put it on the list. Up on the stage, Aaron Bloomer channeled Jimmy Buffett. And after some very good hogfish fingers and hogfish sliders, we promised Tanika we'll return someday and reluctantly exit Geiger Key. Just over 10 minutes later, we're pulling into Ocean's Edge Resort. Stock Island is our home base this trip. We will stay at Ocean's Edge for 4 days, surrounded by rows and rows of beautiful boats. When I was in my early 20s, I read Chapman's Piloting Seamanship and Small Boat Handling, all 10 pounds of it, because I intended to own a boat. I never did, but I still love boats, and I am persuaded by experience that there may be more boats on Stock Island than there are people. This is the Oceanside Marina, where some boat owners live aboard, and where fishermen come and go all day long. Here's a boat flying a reddish kite that looks like a red kite. Well, it is a red kite, but I mean it looks like the raptor called a red kite. The prevailing wind flies it all day. Many rooms have a marina view. Our porch overlooks a protected natural harbor surrounded by mangroves. And the Yellowfin Bar and Restaurant is a fine spot for breakfast. We took a booking online offer that included free breakfast every morning, and we subscribed to the notion that if it's free, it's for me. After breakfast, we walk to the resort water sports tiki hut, and we take the free shuttle into Key West. It leaves every hour on the hour. Our driver, Evans, delivers us across the Cow Key Channel Bridge into Key West and into the beating heart of the Conch Republic Bar Nation, one of the densest collection of saloons anywhere. Evans drops us right in front of the Waterfront Brewery on the historic seaport. In our 20 more Florida Keys bars in 6 days trip, we stayed right over there across the street at the Marker Hotel. And right there is the great Schooner Wharf Bar. The reason that Schooner Wharf is called the Schooner Wharf is because of the big schooners that dock here for charters and sunset sailing. The cable-laying schooner Western Union is the flagship of Key West and the flagship of the state of Florida, but it's no longer berthed here. This photo was taken in 1980 before its last renovation, and it's from the Florida Keys History Center at the County Library. It was taken by Raymond Blazovic, just to give him copyright props. Right now, she, Western Union, is in dry dock at a shipyard on Stock Island, where she remains stripped of paint and in terrible shape after donations for restoration dried up during COVID. These photos were taken by Brad Bertelli, who is a local historian who has a Facebook group called Florida Keys History with Brad Bertelli. He said I could show them to you. Walking past Schooner Wharf on the Marina Boardwalk, up ahead is Jimmy Buffett's recording studio, Shrimp Boat Sound. Bands still record here, but it is now also a Jimmy Buffett shrine. Stickers from around the world. I used to work at a radio station called Q101 in Chicago, and I put a sticker up on the wall. Anita donated a pair of her flip-flops to the Jimmy Buffett flip-flop pile. Here's a view of Conch Republic Seafood Company, and we'll turn to show just how close Shrimp Boat Sound is in the neighborhood. Okay, enough with the Jimmy Buffett Shrine. We're here for bars. According to the Conch Train tour guide, Key West was named, in Spanish, by Ponce de Leon on one of his voyages of discovery. He found a barren island with plenty of bones and no holes in the ground with water. Now the island is lousy with watering holes, so let's begin our own voyage of discovery. Simonton Street is named for a guy named Simonton who bought Key West from the Spaniards in 1821 for $2,000. And at 0 Simonton Street is a great dive bar called Loggerhead's Beach Bar. It's right on a small beach where the locals come to cool off on a hot day. You remember Captain Tony, the late lamented legendary bar owner and Key West mayor and quirky town character? His daughter runs this place. Josie Terracino McGrath owns it in partnership with her high school and college pal Michelle. Loggerheads has an assortment of beers on tap and in cans, and the buzz is the Cuban sandwich can't be beat. It's a bar counter, not a place to sit at the bar, but there are plenty of tables and benches around to sit outside, which is where you want to be anyway. I was talking to bartender Jared about the Terracino family and Captain Tony, and a guy named Wayne overheard us, and he came up and said his apartment landlord is a nephew of Captain Tony. Small world. Our next bar destination is Sunset Pier Bar, 2 blocks away. But first, we stop at the Pier House Resort, which is right next door to Loggerhead's Beach Bar. And it's a great resort, where we've stayed before. An old dive bar called the Chart Room is embedded within. It is little change from when Jimmy Buffett and Bob Marley and Jim Croce played here as broke newcomer musicians. Today, we're too early to stop in for a drink. On this day, it opens at 5 p.m. But in the quiet 60s and early 70s before the tourist stampede, this was the place in Key West where business got done. Poet Shel Silverstein performed ribald ditties unfit for the ears of children. Hunter S. Thompson would not fail to show when he was in town. The story is told that Jimmy Buffett met his wife Jane here when he was playing and passing the hat, and she was in Key West on spring break from the University of South Carolina. And Mel Fisher drank here after a day's searching before scoring millions in Spanish treasure. A spoonful of Mel's ashes are among those of regulars who were sealed into holes drilled into the bar and labeled. Still some holes available. Nobody knows who Bob was. A bar that is open right now is Sunset Pier Bar, although it is hours away from sunset. It's the bar for Sunset Pier, a laid-back, colorful, long pier eatery and drinkery at Ocean Key Resort, another nice place. The gazebo-shaped bar is always busy, and bartender Mary is a perpetual motion machine. It's hot today, and it feels good to stand beside a fan that is not just a fan, but a big-ass fan. It's a great place to watch the passing parade between Mallory Square and Sunset Key, which is across right over there. Here comes the Key West Express catamaran that brings passengers from Fort Myers to Key West Marina every day. It docks in the historic seaport, just past the Half-Shell Raw Bar and Dante's Pool Bar, right next to the ferry boat that goes over to Fort Jefferson. Tonight, the sun will, spoiler alert, go down, and it will have many witnesses to so testify. But at this time of day, Mallory Square is for fishermen, like Scott here. I think that could be a Bermuda chub he caught there, but I'm no ichthyologist. Just a short stroll from where Scott was fishing, we arrive at a Mallory Square institution, El Mesón de Pepe's, a fun Cuban restaurant and bar, the inside of which is decorated as an homage to Key West's Cuban history. That old-timey Wright Brothers-looking biplane hanging from the ceiling is a replica of the plane piloted by Agustin Parla. He was born in Key West and the first licensed pilot in Key West. In 1913, Miami's Curtis School of Aviation held a contest to declare the first pilot to accomplish an airplane flight from Key West to Havana, and Agustin Parla took off with competitor Domingo Rosillo in May of 1913. Rosillo made it to Havana, but Parla had mechanical trouble and had to turn around. 2 days later, he repeated the attempt and landed in Mariel Bay. He later helped develop Key West Airport, and his bust is still displayed there. It mistakenly calls him the first to make the Havana flight, but a bust of Rosillo joined him at the airport a while back, and so Domingo Rosillo got his props. The next bar we come to also has a storied history connected prominently to the infancy of commercial aviation. First Flight resides inside the building that housed the first ticket office of Pan American World Airways, a bar and restaurant so pretty that it's a regular venue for weddings. But we are here for bars, and it is icing on the cake that First Flight is also home to the southernmost microbrewery in the country. We settle into the Crash Bar with its affable bartender, Angel. Crash Bar refers to the cockpit and the nose of the Sikorsky Pan Am Clipper flying boat seaplane plunging through the ceiling of the bar over those guys over there, with 2 ceiling fans as the propellers. Pretty cool, huh? The bar food is elevated over Pan Am airline food and also over typical bar food. I had crispy, breaded, and deep-fried ravioli. Anita had corn salad in a tortilla bowl with chips and salsa. And lots of people get a flight at First Flight. Some time ago, this place was owned by Kelly McGillis, who starred with Tom Cruise in Top Gun. The McGillises are gone, but their Maverick IPA remains on the beer list and has many fans. I went with the Old Havana Red and was not disappointed. We exit First Flight onto Caroline Street and follow the Irish Kevin's bus ad, a minute's walk, and zoom in on the clothing-optional bar up on the roof. This is another familiar and ancient Duval Street saloon that for some reason we have never visited until now. Bull and Whistle is 3 bars, stacked up like a layer cake. On the street level is the Bull Bar, which is well populated with both tourists and locals. Anita hits it off with personable bartender Lovey, who describes to us the Key West historical murals on the walls surrounding the bar. The staircase is painted with a portrait of Henry Flagler from a famous photo taken the day his overseas railroad delivered him after 7 years of construction by 4,000 men all the way to Key West. Anita stays put at the Bull Bar on this hot afternoon, not wishing to join me in taking the steep stairs up to the Whistle Bar. The Whistle Bar is known for 2 things. It's got games, like pool and darts and video game golf and such. And it has a wraparound balcony where you can bring your drink and people watch the Duval Street pedestrian parade below. Up another flight of stairs is the notorious clothing-optional Garden of Eden. And let me confess right up front, I'm going to disappoint you because I did not climb those stairs. Others hiked up with the expectation of either drinking in their birthday suits or watching others soaking up the afternoon sun without any tan lines. But it is clearly stated that no phone cameras are permitted in the Garden of Eden. And if I can't take you to the 3rd floor, I decline to go without you. Besides, I've worn my own personal birthday suit for 75 birthdays, and I wouldn't inflict it on other humans. Anita would never even let me walk out the front door in something that ratty and wrinkled. So, I descend the stairs to discover Bull Bar has a very civilized way to let others know to leave your drink alone. Some surprises await, but first I hope you'll tolerate my imposing upon you a brief ad for a Key West murder mystery I wrote. Annoying, I grant you, but it helps pay the bills, and the bar tour continues after this. The town of Key West. A murder in a museum. Reporter Milo Bird reluctantly undertakes to discover a motive and slowly joins together puzzle pieces tracking back to the early days of sound recording and a long-forgotten connection between Key West and Thomas Edison. Milo enlists his league of drinking buddies, and together they unearth an astounding secret concealed since the time of Prohibition. They race against unknown killers to be first to unearth a hidden object that has awaited discovery for nearly a century. New from Dave McBride and Palapa Press. If you want to read my novel, search Lock, Stock, and Peril on Amazon. Now, to resume our bar crawl with some random encounters with the Conch Republic's official state birds. Our next stop after leaving Bull and Whistle is Captain Tony's, where I want to show you a hidden Jimmy Buffett artifact. You may know what it is already, but don't be a spoiler. So we stroll up Duval Street to a background of live music across the street from the Stinkin' Crayfish, which is worth popping in if you're on the Duval crawl. And this is where, across the street from Irish Kevin's, I feel a tap on my shoulder and turn to find two strangers, a man and a woman, grinning at us. They explain they're from Great Britain, and they watch my Keys Bars videos to get into a Key West frame of mind. They greeted us with self-satisfied expressions, as if they'd been trying to solve a Where's Waldo puzzle, and Waldo turned out to be us. Meet Brian and Andrea. You guys are from where?
Great Britain. England.
Southwest England.
Southwest England.
Southwest England.
Yeah.
And you actually watched me on YouTube.
Yes.
And you actually flagged me down here in the middle of the street in Key West saying, I know who you are.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
Well, that is the nicest thing that anybody's ever done for me.
Hey, I married you.
Okay, well, that's true. Okay, So we stood there briefly, Brian and Andrea and Anita and me, and chortled amongst ourselves and took photos and went on our separate ways. So somebody calculate those odds, will you? Onward to Captain Tony's. I'm on my own because Anita loves to shop at Crazy T-shirts on the corner of Green Street. But I'm not on the hunt for a drink here anyway. Captain Tony was a teller of tall tales, though he did have verifiable adventures. And Jimmy Buffett was a friend of his and wrote a song about him, and you know it, and it goes, I went down to Captain Tony's to get out of the heat, and then I heard a voice call out to me, son, come have a seat. And then Tony recounts the tales that became the Captain Tony mythology as Jimmy sings these lyrics. He said, I ate the last mango in Paris, took the last plane out of Saigon, took the first fast boat to China, and Jimmy, there's still so much to be done. Anyhow, past the bar, when you turn from Captain Tony's stage sign and walk into the men's room, the story goes that the words to the chorus of that song were written right on the wall by Jimmy Buffett his own self and are now preserved in a frame there. There are naysayers who claim Captain Tony himself wrote those words, and others who claim the original lyrics were painted over, but those people are no fun, and I was happy to see those fading words are still there. And so it's time for us to head back to the Waterfront Brewery and catch the bus back to the resort. We stop along the way at Alonzo's Oyster Bar. It's another popular waterside bar and celebrated raw bar that we've passed by many times on our way to somewhere else. Back at First Flight, our bartender was a he named Angel. At Alonzo's, it is a she named Angelique. A nice big bar and great views of the working boats coming and going in the marina. A while back, the acting and singing Wahlberg brothers, Donnie and Mark Wahlberg, and their restaurateur brother Paul, opened a Wahlburgers here on the docks. But locals were more drawn to original, authentic Key West bars than a chain restaurant, and so not long ago, Wahlburgers abandoned the harbor, and Alonzo's bought their deck bar next door. They have live music there starting in late afternoon. There is a big food fight at Alonzo's outside every day at 4 p.m. sharp. They toss in food for the tarpons, and tarpons have only one setting for feeding, and that setting is frenzy. Any place where fishermen fillet fish dockside along the boardwalk is a tarpon feeding frenzy, but this is the only place that guarantees it every day at 4 o'clock on the dot. Right around the corner on the harbor walk, back to our shuttle, is white tarpon. It moved to this location in a musical chairs of saloons during COVID when the great Boathouse Bar and Restaurant moved into what used to be the Turtle Crawls bar space on the far side of the harbor walk, and white tarpon moved into the boathouse digs. This won't be on the test. For those who are drawn to such things, it declares itself the home of the key lime martini.
Sad day. Are you on the shot wagon?
Like all the harbor bars, it's surrounded by views of boats coming and going. And the bar is a good spot from which to watch sports and tourists. The bar has something called the Wheel of Tarpon. Look to the right of Anita on the wall. Nobody spun while we were there, and we did not know to ask our bartender, Zach, at the time, but we later learned that the idea is, if your bartender's in a good mood, he or she will let you spin the Wheel of Tarpon for a free drink or drinks, in the unlikely event your spin lands on a designated number. Now it is nearly time to take the shuttle home, so we wait on this very hot day in the most refrigerated air on the marina at the Waterfront Brewery. It's a vast open warehouse of a bar, surrounded by huge spaces for its brewery tanks, visible through windows, and a big souvenirs and t-shirt store, and doors opening to the Harbor Walk boardwalk on the marina side and doors out to the street on the opposite side. We didn't have time this trip, but the Waterfront Brewery has a bar up on a huge roof deck where you can watch the sun go down over the sweep of the Key West Bight Harbor. In the inside bar, a big video screen alternates between the brewery sign and its menu of craft beers, which are also found in the taps of bars throughout Old Town. And then, promptly at 4:25, Evans drives up in his bus for the ride home. Hello, young man. Good to see you. It's the next morning, and across the Cow Key Bridge into Key West, we turn left on Roosevelt, which is State Road A1A. A1A is the name of a Jimmy Buffett album made during his Key West days, and is the name of a scenic highway which winds down the Atlantic coast through scenic seaside towns to Key West. When Jimmy died, both the Florida House and Senate unanimously, that never happens, passed bills renaming A1A Jimmy Buffett Memorial Highway, and directed that the signs go up by Labor Day weekend, which is significant in Jimmy Buffett folklore for two reasons. Labor Day weekend is the subject of his first hit song, Come Monday, which is when he reunited with his love, and that he did not reach Labor Day Monday of 2023, when he died on that Sunday. Today, A1A takes us to a pier sticking into the Atlantic that is more than 4 football fields long. As you can tell, it's very windy where I am right now, and that's why I'm shielding the microphone with my hands to protect it from the wind. This is the view from the White Street Pier, and behind me is the southernmost point concrete buoy, somewhere over there. And it turns out the number of Key West bars on this tour are greater than I can cram into a single episode. And we have miles to bar hop in Old Town before we cross over to the watering holes on Stock Island. So I'll declare a recess, and I'll gavel us back into session in part 2, where we'll pick up with the beach bars right over there. Here's a recap of the story up till now.